just as the individuals that
They didn't belong
Ebola
here.
is breaking out. And what is the Trump administration trying to do? They try to send people to the Republic of Congo where Ebola is. They're trying to take the Haitian individuals that have been here on TPS and send them back to Haiti, where they won't even allow Americans to go right now. Why? Because it's too dangerous. They won't allow individuals to travel there on plane because they're saying the gangs are shooting down airplanes. So therefore, right now, this administration is trying to take those Haitian individuals and send them to a place that we can't even travel to. So, Rick, you're right to worry because this administration is completely deplorable.
But so many people are.
Check this out. Rick, the reason why you won't have to worry, but individuals like Mark, myself, Dr. Sharif will have to worry.
White boy.
Exactly, because they're allowing people from South Africa, individuals with Jaguars, to come into the country on refugee status, even though nothing's happening to them. But they're
let's give the numbers there. So Trump has shut down the refugee business in the U.S. We've only let in the past year 5,000 refugees, and all but 3 of them were white people from South Africa. I don't know how the 3 managed to sneak in, but that's less than 1 refugee in 1,000 isn't whitey from frickin' South Africa.
Yeah, but that's what the American public voted for. They did not.
Barely.
I'm sorry. You guys are in the minority.
Trouble is everybody trying to sell fear. So this is Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is Trump's biggest planner. I think his chief of staff. Right. Stephen Miller goes on Laura Ingraham and says that it's existential for this country that Republicans not lose power. Should the Democrats regain power, it's game over. 12 more justices on SCOTUS, 2 new Democrat states. They're going to get rid of the Second Amendment. They're going to get rid of our borders. They're going to get rid of our police, ICE, Border Patrol, and they're going to elect communists who will wreck this country. So he's selling fear. All of that is bullshit. It makes me want to be crazy because I don't like Stephen Miller, but Stephen Miller, people who like him are made crazy. We're being sold hyperbole and fear.
Well, speaking of hyperbole and fear and all along those lines,
that's because some of that fear is.
Well, that's all they have is fear. That's the only thing that they can say.
Unfortunately, some of the fear.
No, they don't have policy.
But Jacoby, speaking of fear, and I just want to hear from Rick. Really quickly, because I know it's one of Nick's favorite issues and everything along those lines. But apparently the Supreme Court recently came down and approved a state ban on transgender women and girls in sports. So this just came down earlier today, like about 10 minutes ago. So they are siding with Idaho and West Virginia in cases that affect bans in more than half the states around the country. And even to your point, Jacoby, Brett Kavanaugh wrote for the court that under federal law and the Constitution, schools can maintain women and girls sports for biological females. So the Trump appointee wrote that schools can determine the eligibility for women and girls sports based on biological sex, even though, as I think Rick has pointed out a couple of times, there aren't that many trans athletes in the country and everything like that. But definitely the decision follows the court's 6-3 ruling last terms in the Scamurdy case that upheld a ban on gender-affirming care for minors. So the court split along those same lines earlier this year in siding with California parents on school policies that sought to prevent outing transgender students. So it looks like the transgender issue is still very much out there, and it looks like Idaho and West Virginia have gotten the support of
one unfortunate kid will be affected by this, and maybe another kid in the future. But there's only one trans athlete competing in Idaho and West Virginia.
So the problem is more than the one kid. Yes, there are roughly a handful, maybe about 5 to 10 trans athletes competing on a level throughout college, NCAA. I think there are less than 20 across the U.S. that are actually competing. But the problem is this ruling will now lay heavy on that community and allow for them to be targeted even more by individuals claiming you're this, you're demon, this is what proves it. They're going to use this to attack a community that has the highest suicide rate by far. So even though it's treating transgender individuals in sports as second-class citizens.
Breaking news. SCOTUS upholds birthright citizenship, rejecting Trump's restrictions. So something we were freaking out about, that it would have reshaped American citizenship fundamentally. SCOTUS says, fuck off with that. We are keeping it. So even a crazy Supreme Court isn't that crazy.
No, well,
they're going to try it again.
It helps that a lot of people were going crazy over it and being upset because they paid attention to that disturbance and chaos. That disturbance and chaos got their attention. If people were not being angry and upset over it, they probably would not have ruled that way. It's just like helping people settle with our show on timeshares, solution or surrender. We really don't do anything, but when the people send the TV shows to some of the executives at the timeshare institutions, they settle. It's like the next day we get a text saying, hey, guess what? They're settling. So you got to make a disturbance. You got to squeak that wheel a little bit, but you got to squeak it in the way that the right people see it.
But yes? The chaos lets them pick our pockets. When they talk about trans, and we've talked about this a bunch before, the chaos, the disorder created by Trump, the fear, the throw the spaghetti at the wall, it provides cover for major economic moves to screw over American people. But the trans issue, we were concerned. Everybody's concerned about the people. Either you're freaked out about dudes dressed as women using women's bathrooms, if you're conservative, all that, but it's a small number of people. But it provides cover for the largest tax cut in history for billionaires and cutting funds from Social Security and Medicare. All that stuff, all the big shit gets drowned out by the culture war stuff.
Hey, Rick.
We're looking at all of this. We're being distracted with all of this and looking at all of these other things that are just splattered like a prism filled with light. And we still have the Epstein files, children that were raped. But the other big problem is our country is straining under debt, screaming under debt, that we have a lot of debt, but yet we're spending billions of dollars a year detaining innocent immigrants that didn't need to be detained. They were self-sustaining. They were paying for themselves. So each one we're probably spending about $200,000 a year per detainee just to be inhumane to them. But the detainment centers that they're being held in are owned by millionaires and billionaires and friends of Trump. So the money is going straight to them anyway, and lining the pockets for them to support Trump. So you see this.
We have more breaking news, Kim, and everything like that, because apparently the Supreme Court, and this is going to upset a lot of people, in a 6-3 decision in NRSC versus FCC ruled on Tuesday that political parties can spend unlimited, and yes, I did say unlimited amounts of money in coordination with candidates, undoing a decades-old law limiting such coordination. So it looks like
that's super bad. But is it going to wreck the midterms? I don't know. But everybody needs to play the game annoying or dangerous, and stuff can be both. But you can put stuff along a continuum from this sounds like a fairly dangerous ruling, but I don't know.
So right now with that ruling, that means people can spend as much money as they want to. So we're talking about getting money out of politics because that is an issue. So that answers your question. If we don't know if this is dangerous or not, it is a very, very bad thing. So now, politicians need to wear race car jackets that show who they're sponsored by. That won't happen either, because the way that it's set up is that Trump has changed the game, and people need to realize it. From the dark money in politics that he's pulling from the Bitcoin side of things, because you don't have to track that, to now this ruling. So now you can do it out in the open, and you don't have to worry about it, because you can spend as much money as you want.
This is a terrible follow-up to Citizens United.
Yeah. So this is an even worse thing. But I think earlier you guys had also kind of skimmed over it. But all this stuff, the culture war things and the Southern strategy was that. And that's how Nixon won. And Nixon, that is what this is. This is the Southern strategy of now. And yes, it deals with the culture wars. But we've got to remember that there's a reason behind these culture wars today. Because as I pointed out right now, Rick, how many people came in or were brought in? 5,000+. How many people were all white? Or how many people were
99.94%?
Three people were not white. How many people are being kicked out that are not white?
350,000 Haitians.
So basically, when we're talking about birthright citizenship, again, he's going to try again for birthright citizenship, because the whole game is the whitening of America. And I hate to say it that way, but that is what he's doing. That is the honest thing, what he's doing. If you're kicking out all these brown people and bringing in all these white people, what am I supposed to think?
Well, they're supposed to think that
the individuals that he's fired from military positions, the majority of them are who? Black people and women. So when we're talking about these things, we have to be honest. We cannot joke around with it due to the fact that it's happening.
Dr. Sharif, you have something to say.
Yes, Jatavi, you are my best friend in this podcast and all of the things. Everybody is good here. So if you have a lot of problem in USA, come to Bangladesh. Here is
I would love to.
There you go.
Problem solved.
American degrees and experience. You can be CEO of any large company. Easy, very easy.
Stop whining.
Right the way you,
Toby. I'll get you a ticket.
You come to Bangladesh. America has a lot of problem. Come to Bangladesh.
Go to Bangladesh.
I would love to, and that'd be a great thing. But here's the funny thing.
It will be a great thing for you.
And that's always a cool thing. It'd be nice if I'd have the ability to just up and go, which is just move and have all the monies and go. And the majority of the country, and this is why I try and speak on not this plateau of, hey, this is what's going on, and this is what this I can do like Nick. I can just move to Spain and not have to worry about it.
Hey, Spain today.
The majority of the people cannot just up and move. They can't even up and move to the next city. So they're stuck having to deal with it, having to deal with a situation that is unattainable for them. And then if you think about like the Haitian people, the people like Nick want to use the excuse of, well, go back and fix your own country. Well, then if I'm escaping, what am I doing? I need to fix my own country. So a lot of people need to think of ways and come up with other public policies and other avenues to actually change what's going on currently right now in the U.S., because the U.S. is actually on a downswing and falling behind.
The stock market is up 9%.
Falling. Oh, the stock market. Woo! Well, there are a ton of people right now that cannot feed their kids, cannot do a whole bunch of stuff. So you talk about the stock market all you want, because you have the money to do so. The majority of the country does not. So let's get back to reality and not the fact that
hold on, I have a statistic about Haiti. Haiti's murder rate is 11.5 times the U.S. murder rate, which is 6 times the murder rate of Spain. So your odds of getting murdered in Haiti are 70 times what they are where you are, Nick.
Well, the thing,
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. That's the reason Haiti is not on my vacation list, and frankly, not on my vacation list or visiting list. I'm going to go to Doc. I want to go visit Dr.
My guess is you can't even go to Haiti.
Just kidding.
Yeah, probably not. But
so
I'm okay
you're
with
gonna,
it,
but you're advocating.
But let me
for
tell you, for
people
you
go back
guys
to a
to
place that you
think
can't
the
even go
U.S.
to.
is collapsing is a joke. It's not collapsing.
Well, one
the
of the
market
recent
is up nearly 10% in the last 6 months. That is
What?
a leading economic indicator of.
Let me push back on that
happening.
real quick. Let me push back on your leading economic indicator
It's a
while you want to
leading
point out the stock
economic
market. That is one of the
indicator.
dumbest things.
Million
That is
people
one of
own
the dumbest
stocks in
arguments. The
United
stock
States.
market is so high. Let me point out to you, the stock market actually rose faster under Joe Biden than it did up under Donald Trump. So therefore, it would be higher up under the policies of Biden than it is up under Trump. So that kills your whole argument there in terms of
Show me.
Then on top of that, we have higher unemployment, higher inflation, higher foreclosures, higher business closings, higher. I mean, we have all these economic indicators that go against your narrative that you want to hold on to, that the stock market is so high. Well, it would have been.
Yes, I'm just laying out what's happening the last 6 months. So you don't need to make Rick sick when you go look at your.
I'm just pointing out facts.
You'll notice
I'm pointing out facts.
Okay, so I'm just letting you know it's good days in America right now.
Again, the poverty level has increased, correct?
Yeah.
No, actually, the thing is, I was looking at the other day. It looks like there are more people and this was from your New York Times. There are more people moving into the middle class and the upper middle class. Okay, so by the way, it says
middle class. Are they what industry?
Okay, this is from the internet. You can Google this, Jacoby. Trump's first term, the S&P surged 67%. Biden,
you can Google it.
56%.
You know what else I can Google?
Now, the last time I looked at my math, 67% under Trump is better than Biden's 56%. But you make this statement, Biden's better.
Wait.
That statement is just totally incorrect.
67% is what?
67%. Trump's first term, Biden's 56. Dow Jones, 57.
Let's keep moving.
39. Biden.
We're in Trump's second term.
NASDAQ, more than double
hold on.
under Trump, 48 under
we're
Biden.
Up under
You make this
second
assumption
term.
that Biden was
we're
better.
Up under Trump's
it
second
is just
term.
not true.
No,
that's
Nick,
the problem.
Nick,
you're living in a
Nick,
dream
see,
world.
This is the problem. No, the problem is
you're
you just
living in a dream
admitted that
world.
you looked up faulty
okay, so let's
data.
look at unemployment.
You just looked up faulty data. You said it's
no. I'm looking up your chat GPT.
What's up under the second term?
Anybody who's listening can Google this. Anybody.
Talk to me about the second term.
Go ahead and Google it. Go ahead and Google it. Right.
What's going on now?
Okay.
What's going on now, Nick?
All right, so I have a couple of things. The official U.S. poverty rate is down. However, according to AI, the official measure is widely considered outdated and incomplete. And the child poverty rate has doubled to 13% since 2021, when we were providing a lot of aid during COVID. Trump, knocked millions of people off of SNAP, off of food stamps. So
we have the deaths that are coming from the food stamps and the SNAP. We have the deaths coming from USAID, which he cut across the globe. We have the deaths coming from the individuals that he's sending to these nations, which are they've never been to, never came from, but he's sending them there because he wants to. But he's sending them to nations where they're actually going to die. So again, Nick,
well, the thing is, they think they can waltz into the United States. That hasn't happened.
Yeah, but they're not waltzing. They're working. They have an 80%
you can't just.
rate.
I can't just. People can't just show up to the borders, except maybe in Spain, and say, "I want entry because I'm me." It doesn't work that way.
So you're saying
here's a website to do
don't fill out your paperwork. And you don't get vetted properly. You don't get it. I don't see what.
Well, here's a website for valid research. Pew, PEW research.org.
Well, by the way, Pew is
not an acronym. It is a wealthy man from Shell Oil that established a means to collect data and do a lot of research. Pew Research says the top 3 countries considered for the key threats of the world are Russia, China, and the United States, and not in that order.
Yeah, well, I mean, that would be
U.S. has reached
rational
the
because
top
they have
of
the
that
nukes.
food chain as being key threats and dangerous to the world. Soon, people will start saying U.S. citizens are not allowed. U.S. citizens are not, they're going to ban, not just ban our country, they're going to ban our people from going into their country, except for, Sharif has invited us. Thank you. But, the thing is that this is not helping us. We look like a circus act, a clown who threw his name on everything that he can think of, like a kid with a crayon, and we're having to erase and clean up all of that mess. We are still billions in debt, going trillions in debt that we will never recover, and we're detaining immigrants who were working, and we're paying to detain them. And the only place that money is going to is the billionaires and millionaires that exist on Trump's happy list. So I think what we need to do is get our priorities in order and take back America.
I have refugee numbers. In the past 50 years, the U.S. has averaged 70,000 refugees admitted per year. Trump has cut this year's number by 89% to 7,500, of which it's 5,000 have been admitted so far this year. 99.94% of them are white people from one country, South Africa. And the U.S., the Republicans like to say we're being overrun. The U.S. has the lowest growth rate in our nation's history, less than 0.25% growth. That is, the U.S. adds, we're not making enough babies domestically, and our population is growing in a country of 340 million people. It's growing by less than 900,000 people a year. So it's not like we're being overrun.
Also, just really quick, because I enjoy proving Nick wrong. Nick said that people do not come to Spain when there's a whole asylum process to come to Spain. You can apply for asylum at any time.
I said except Spain.
Hold on. Once you are in Spain. So when you cross the border, just like when you cross the border in the U.S. and enter into the country, even not at a port of entry, even like in the U.S., there is an asylum process.
Yeah, and Spain has a very open border policy, so except Spain. However, it's very controversial over here, and part of it is because the immigration problem that they have right now in France and Great Britain. A lot of the people from, Syria and people from Sudan came in there, and they're basically trashing their countries, and they're PO'd. And and that's part of the problem. I mean, you may not recognize it, but
so you're saying that
seriously, do you want to have the Haiti problem?
This is what I'm hearing. Let me stop you right there. This is what I'm hearing. You're saying that immigrants trash countries.
Yeah.
Not the actual populace in the country, but immigrants are the ones.
Correct. Unfortunately, there's demographic evidence that shows that is correct.
Okay. Can you tell me this demographic evidence? Because from what I've read, in terms of trashing countries, for example, in the U.S., you moved away. Hold on. Since in the U.S., the country that you moved away from, because I guess you don't love the U.S. like we're supposed to, or just randomly. But since you moved out of the U.S., from what I've read, and these are figures that anybody can look up, all facts, that the immigrants commit less crimes than the natural born citizens. Yet you're saying that the immigrants are the ones that
yeah. See, the thing is what it is. It's the illegal immigrants. when you read those
don't worry.
statistics, you're
Immigrants,
reading,
when I'm talking about
you're reading
immigrants, I'm
huge
talking about the
statistics.
undocumented immigrants that
You're
come into
being
the country.
manipulated.
I'm not talking about
You're being
random individuals
manipulated
or,
left and
hey,
you don't
the
even
immigrants
know.
who've been here.
What they're
No,
doing
but
is
that's
they're
actually broken out into statistics as
all
well.
the
Because
immigrants.
actually,
And if
the
you classify
undocumented
all of them, you're
immigrants commit the less
classifying
crimes,
the
even
legal
including the immigrants who've been
with the
here.
illegal
So
immigrants. But the
therefore,
illegal immigrants,
again, back to
nonsense.
the argument.
It's just not
Based
reality.
on statistics and data that is out there free for anybody to see, undocumented immigrants commit less crimes than natural born and actually the immigrants who've been here. So again, Nick, I need to know where you get your data from.
Well, you can get it off the internet today, Jacoby. So when you promulgate your lies, your typical liberal lies, which you did on Biden being better than Trump on the economy,
I need
okay,
a source.
you're so easy to refute
Nick,
because all you have to do today is go to the internet and you can see the liberal lies are refuted right away. So you just don't get any traction anymore.
From FBI.gov.
No, you're just making things up because it sounds good.
Immigration offices, all the other stuff. So my data, my source is FBI.gov. We'll just leave it at that. Now, where is your source? What is your source?
Okay, here's what it says. Now this is what the immigrants are, and also I hope Rick feels better. There's a great book called The Power of Positive Thinking. It's a good book. Liberals don't believe in that. They believe in the power of Debbie Downer. And Debbie Downer never goes
So
anywhere.
you ran to the book.
So what you have to do, Rick, is readjust your
Okay,
thinking.
liberals don't own that.
Positively.
Conservatives are now,
Don't think
all
negative.
the MAGAs are currently yelling that we're turning into a socialist country because New York City has a socialist mayor. Yeah, so it's not like socialism is overrunning New York. I'm sure.
No, it isn't. It isn't. But the thing is, I think what they're more concerned about is the direction of New York, which you guys are too young to remember. But in the 70s, the liberals trashed it. It was a
New York was
complete
broke.
trash
New
site.
York was a shithole. I moved there in the
Exactly.
80s.
You had
and it was
these liberal
still
mayors, and they
recovering.
go, let crime wave Dave take over the city.
Who are the
They
mayors?
don't care. I think that's what they're scared of. But I don't live in New
Who
York, so I
were the
travel
mayors
through.
at that time?
You know.
You just saying random stuff because
New York has been a
No, I actually worked in New York. That's
New
the
York
reason.
has
who
been
were the
an
mayors? What were the
excellent.
policies?
Well, hold on.
You
New
know,
York
I mean,
has been a great
okay.
city for the past 30 years. And even when it was shitty, it was still a great city. I lived
Okay,
there in the 80s.
if you Google
Little screwed up, and
immigrants,
it was I had an awesome time. Yeah, there were crack vials all over the street.
you got stopped on the 3rd Avenue Bridge with people.
So that had nothing to do with the Reagan
pulled you up.
policy,
I mean, it
which
was
is
extraordinary.
those.
Okay, but if you happen
Crack,
to
New York was great.
go to
Even with-
AI
That was
and
no.
Google
But Rick, my
immigrants in
question
Paris
is
trouble.
the problem. What you're talking about these vials and all this other stuff that ended up on the streets. You're talking about that had nothing to do with Reagan. The Reagan policy that pushed a lot of individuals with mental issues out of these homes and out of these housings, right?
Yeah. All right. So the power of positive thinking is from 1952, 74 years ago. And it's a book. Most people are so distracted now, including myself, can't even read a frickin' book anymore, let alone.
Okay, here's the refutation so that you can refute Jatovi's arguments. Okay, here's what you do. You do is you Google immigrants in Paris, and you'll find some very interesting things. This is
Immigrants in Paris.
GDP.
Why not France?
This is not me saying it.
What about
Jatovi.
France?
This is not me.
What about
This
France?
is ChatGPT. We're talking about Paris, my
You're
friend.
talking about
Okay.
one city.
Okay,
What about
quote.
France? Let's do France.
Paris authorities clear squatter camps. These evictions spark demonstration, of course, long-term housing problems, public disorder. They're heavily congested hubs. They loiter, they drug use, poor sanitation, and of course, that's created friction. Now, this is what they're saying. This is not me saying it. They're saying it. Street harassment and scams.
You're not
Street
giving
harassment
a
and
source.
scams.
You're just
High
reading
traffic tourist areas in
You're
Paris
reading some
have
random
organized
document
street
that nobody else
scams,
knows about.
petty theft, opportunist group targeting unaware visitors. Those are your immigrants.
Right, okay, but that's been the
Eddie,
Paris,
you
London,
just
and
read random anecdotes.
so
You
wait,
didn't
so
sources from the
Charles
It's all
Dickens
on
wrote-
the
hold
internet.
hold on. Charles Dickens wrote about this in Oliver, whatever that. Freaking- so people have been having their wallets stolen and I asked AI about Paris. Is Paris still a nice city, even with immigrants? AI says yes, Paris remains a spectacular, world-class city with unparalleled history, architecture, and dining. So yeah, you got to watch. You don't want to carry your wallet in your back pocket. I was in Paris in 1975,
Paris.
a little kid
For me.
in Place Pigalle. I watched a guy get his pocket picked. This guy is walking down the street. Somebody is coming up behind him and gently tapping his back pocket, knocking the wallet further and further out. And I'm going, excusez-moi, trying to, the guy being a snotty Frenchman didn't want to listen to some little kid with a terrible accent trying to get his attention. So the guy lost his freaking wallet. That is not a new problem. And Paris,
That happens everywhere all the time. I agree. It happens everywhere all the time. And what also happens on our time is we're out of time.
we're out of here.
So
All
we
right.
gotta go. Hasta luego.
No
Barry.
correlation.
Au revoir, as they would say in Paris.
Yeah, I win because there's no correlation between immigrants and crime rates in Paris.